term that you hear a lot in education circles is developmental domains, and it's actually a unit in the Cert 3 and a very important one and very central to what everyone working in a school or with kids, for example, in childcare, or even if you're teaching your own kids at home, home tutoring, very important. Let's have a look at these words first and break it down a little bit. Developmental is just a big word that means getting kids from A to B. I don't know how to throw a basketball. It's a skill you need to develop. For example, developmental. Everyone develops, but kids seem to develop at an extremely fast pace as far as their ability to learn, or they're expected to learn because that's what they do 30 hours a week in school. And domains. Domains just means a particular area. So it could be for example, social or emotional. Okay, so underneath developmental domains, there are generally 3 domains. Physical is the first one and easiest one to describe. That's the ability to throw the basketball. Gross motor, fine motor skills. Being able to kick a football, being able to play netball, being able to paint, knit, those types of things. Secondly, cognitive. Cognitive is another big word that simply means up here, being able to think, critically analyse, problem solve. There's a big push these days politically towards students being able to read, write, do maths, those kind of stuff, whereas most school staff, especially teachers, push in a different direction, and they're more interested in students developing cognitive skills, the ability to critically analyse. You can spell until the cows come home, but if you can't problem solve, you're not really good at many jobs when you leave schools. Cognitive is the most important one in my opinion, although if you don't have the others, then obviously there's problems there. Affective just basically means social and emotional, having, I suppose, street smarts in a way as a part of it, being able to control your emotions, being able to interact with others in a positive way. You can be the best speller, you can be the best accountant in the world, but even in those particular jobs, you still need to work with, say, business people and so on and so forth. Being able to socialise properly and being able to work with people that maybe you don't get along with is super important. So you can be a content expert, but you also need those social skills to go along with it. It's very rare that you get subjects these days where there isn't that personal element to some extent. Okay, so within those, we break those up even further into different categories, and 2 ways we can do that is by subjects. So affective, cognitive and physical, well, okay, let's take art or let's take English for example. Students need to be able to deconstruct text. So look at an advert and go, well, what was the target audience, or what are they trying to say by using that picture as opposed to this picture? What was the author's intention? So that would be, for example, cognitive. I mean, you're affective, you're looking at, okay, well, what does that radio advert say about a particular social group, or what type of emotions does it try to convey when they're using little kids' voices, for example, in trying to sell things. And physical. So physical being obviously in English, that's a tough one. Being able to, say, your fine motor skills, being able to write, or even a drama and things like that and related to English. And these go across all 3, some more so to an extent than others, depending on what you're doing. Obviously in art you could say, well, your physical type fine motor skills are much more important than, say, these skills, but then again, maybe not. And the other way we can divide those up is into your different phases of development, and you see these in most curriculums around the world: early childhood, middle childhood, late childhood, and adolescence, or early adulthood, or something along those lines. Phases of development also, and will be outlined in the curriculum, and they'll say things like, okay, well, during early childhood, physically, this is what students should be able to do. Cognitively, this is what students should be able to do. And effectively, this is what students should be able to do. Generally, these are, say, 3 or 4 years each. So, your year 2 to year 6 will fall into a category. And that's because sometimes students will be in the equivalent of year 6 for art, but in English, they're still back in year 2 or vice versa. No one is always at exactly the same level for every single subject across the board. So that's why phases are important. Okay, and that's developmental domains.